Hey, kia ora. Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you've all had a super fantastic, sparkling, fun Friday. Yay! And did you notice we got a morning session in this morning? I was so proud of myself. But it did help that we got gently woken up with the thunder as it started to get closer. And I've got little ears sticking out. It's kind of, there we go. It was caught in the back of my shirt. And then it was near us, and then it was over top of us, and then it was away from us in like 3 minutes. Oh, I've got fluff and dog hair and sorry. So it was a great way to wake up, and it just kind of energized me because you had the thunder, the rolling thunder come through with the lightning and the crashing. Then you're followed by the winds coming through, and then the rain came. It was, even though we were still inside, it was an energetic way to wake up, if that makes sense. It was just, I bounce out of bed in the mornings anyway, and this one I kind of leapt out of bed, and it was like, yeah, I'm getting up. That's it. I'm done. I'm not going back to sleep. Well, I wouldn't have been back to sleep for long anyway because my clock goes off at 5:07 if I haven't woken up. That's my safety. That's my little safety belt. But yeah, it was just such an energizing way to wake up, and I've carried that energy and that fun of that wake up all the way through the day. It has been amazing. Had a lot of fun today. Working on the chat, I got to meet another travel agent this morning. Travel agent this morning. We had a great conversation, gave us some ideas and things, and got some other work done. And then I was on the chat for the afternoon, and it was just such a really great day. And it was fun all the way. I guess because when I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, such a great way to wake up. You've got that energy from that wake up call, and then you can, you just bounce into the day and just get started. And the whole day just flowed beautifully. Like I said, it was just an incredibly fun day. And there was just a different energy about it, which was incredible. It made for an incredible day. And I got nearly all my stuff done. I still have to finish reading the Chinese Orange Mystery before tomorrow at 10:30. So I've got a little bit of a time. I'm listening to it on an audiobook at 1.5 times the speed as I read through it. I tried it at double speed, and I thought, I can't hear a word they're saying. I'm not quite reading that fast in this book. And it depends on the narrator and how they are narrating the books. Sometimes I can do double speed. Sometimes I can do double speed and I can read through the book with them. Other times I have to slow it down to 1.5, and that's enough for me to keep up with them. Because I still got to be able to hear the words. So I'm listening to the words, I'm reading, I've got the book physically in my hand and reading it and all of that. So we'll get that done before 10:30 tomorrow morning. It will not be a problem. And it's just so much fun. And then tomorrow I have my book club, and then I'm on the chat in the afternoon. And Sunday is wide open for Zephy and I to do whatever we please. Laundry will be done sometime over the weekend. I do have to go get mail, although I don't think the package I really need to arrive is arriving because the people I do my internet through say they're changing providers, and if you want to stay with them, stay with their program, then we had to fill out a form, and they said it will take 2 to 5 days for you to receive the new receiver. And I've got a message that there is a package, but I'm also expecting another package in too. So I've only got one of 2 packages in, and I don't know which one is in, and I'm not sure how far behind the other one is, because one won't send me a tracking number and the other one does. Maybe I should go check the one that does send the tracking number. Your brain. Okay. But also had fun with coming up with some more cards to create, ideas, looking at just all sorts of, it's been a very fun creative day as well. Had fun creating, taking notes and writing things out and looking at different things and swipe files. And I packed a lot into today. Yes, I packed a lot into today. It was unbelievable what I got packed. got packed into today. And we just got back from Zephy's walk. It was still 103 degrees out there, but the thing said it felt like 90 something. We got out there. That air is so heavy. And so I pulled up the weather program, and it says in 10 minutes it would start raining for like about an hour, for almost an hour. And I'm like, okay, I can see the rain clouds, can definitely see the rain clouds, but there was like virtually no wind, so they're not moving very fast. And I don't know if the rain clouds have already passed us or if they're coming towards us, because we couldn't tell which way the wind was blowing, because nothing up there was moving, and nothing on the, no trees were moving. So I'm not sure if or when the rain is going to arrive. We may have rain clouds over us right now. There may be some other parts that are getting the rain and we're not. But yeah, we got rain today. We started the day off with rain. Oh my gosh, what a great way to wake up. And then I saw friends of mine are going house hunting, and they've got a Airbnb by a lake. And I thought, oh, huh. And I started thinking, and I suddenly thought, wonder if there's any Airbnbs that are dog friendly near a lake, and and Zeph and I can go out there and just have a weekend away from the RV, live in a cabin for a weekend, which would be totally different for both of us. Well, me, not so much, but for her, yeah, definitely. And just go have a weekend in a cabin somewhere. And I thought, what a cool idea that would be. And I could take the weekend off, and the whole purpose of going. And then, so that's what originally sparked the idea. And then what really set it in motion was on Fridays on our wake up call, we're working through this workbook here. Hang on, I gotta find the cover side of it. We're working through this, which is called I Am My Story. And it's talking about taking past events and creating your own story. And they were talking about, and she was talking about being a dream machine this morning, and how she created this dream machine weekend with her family. And I thought that's such a cool idea. And so the spark of the person having their Airbnb by a lake, and the spark of that idea was to, like, why not go and write a weekend? We could get away, find an Airbnb or something or a cabin, find something that is away from here, like near a lake or something, where we could go and go for nice walks and that sort of thing. Be something different for Zephy, something different for myself, and we could just spend a creative weekend. We do need to have Wi-Fi service though, so I can still do my Facebook Lives. That's the only requirement that I'm going to have. But I don't care about spending the rest of the week offline for the rest of the weekend. I just need to be able to do my lives. That's the only thing, is I have to be able to do my lives from wherever we are. So I'm going to start looking at that. So I thought that was such a great idea, from creating this dream machine, and then friends, just merging the two together. It's such an awesome idea. So I've got inspiration for that. I don't know what weekend it's going to be. I'm working on dates to go and spend a week back in California. Go out there on, go out one Saturday and come back Sunday the following week or something like that. So I'm working on that right now. I've already got dates I can't go for one of the kids, because they're going to be traveling. So they've given me the dates they've already booked for travel. I just have to contact the other one to find out if they have anything booked during that time as well. So lots of cool stuff coming up. And so I'm looking forward to what's coming down the pipeline and things like that. And I've just got, my brain is just so full of stuff right now. Mind mapping as fast as I can, but then I get interrupted by other stuff that's going on that I need to get done, or that I'm working on, and things like that. So I thought, a weekend away would be awesome, because usually when I'm here in the RV, I feel like I've got to get online, and it's harder to stay off. And so I thought, let's just go spend a weekend away somewhere. So we're going to go looking and see what we can find, and just go have some fun at some place somewhere, and for a weekend away. So that's what I'm thinking. I've got my genealogy class coming up in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the end of July, the last week of July, I got my genealogy class on. So I'm looking forward to that. But just be able to go away on a weekend, take a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and come back on a Monday. Take a 4-day weekend, have Friday and Monday off, and travel on Friday, stay there Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, come home Monday. Oh, we're also into summer break season 2, aren't we? Yes. Well, we're going to plan for it. We'll see what we can find, and just do something fun that's something out of the norm. Because when you have stuff that's out of the norm, and this is why I always recommend people, should take that. This is why you should take vacations, why you need to take vacations. Because vacations are a reboot for your brain. And employers that do not encourage vacations are basically shooting themselves in the foot. Because if you allow and encourage your team, your employees to take vacations, then what happens is it actually has a positive impact on your bottom line. Now, you may still have, a profitable year and everything else. And, you may not just, there are companies out there that actually discourage their employees from taking vacation. They make it hard for their employees to take vacation. And if they're out sick, then that's even worse. But and yes, they may still have a profit, but here is the thing. There is actually a Forbes article that came out in 2013, and I know that was like 9 years ago. I would be interested to see an update on that article. But in 2012, there was $13 billion spent on healthcare, mental health care. And they said most of that expense could have been avoided if people did something as simple as take a vacation. And I was like, yes, I am all over that one. I will help you take your vacation. And that was my thing for a while. It was like, you have to take a vacation. You need to take vacations. Then there was, and then Forbes put out another article. I think it was Forbes. It was Forbes, Wall Street. It was one of the big business magazines. Brought out an article. It was a CEO writing a letter to other CEOs, telling them the importance of vacations. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we've got top guys telling top guys that, guys and gals, that, it's important to take that and why you should take vacations. And the reasons are very simple. One, it is good for the mentality of your, not only of yourself, but also for your team and your staff and your employees. It is great for their mentality. They come back from vacation, they are more creative, more productive. You have a bigger impact on your bottom line because of it. Your sick days go down with people taking vacations, because when they're on vacation, they're relaxing, they're stress-free. And the stress they have is a different type of stress to work stress. Because I know some people like that. And my advice to all of my clients when I would send them on cruises was, this is what I would tell clients when they would get on, especially my first time cruises. I'd say, okay, you're going to get down to the wharf at this time, get checked in, as soon as they let you on board, the first place you go is the buffet. I says, get in there, get your lunch, because if you're on the early intake of boarding, it won't be very crowded like it's going to get in less than 30, in about 30 to an hour after 30 minutes to an hour after you arrive in the buffet. It will be packed. So the first place you go is the buffet. Go straight to the buffet because you won't be allowed in your cabins at that time. So go straight to the buffet, have lunch. I said, then go up to the top deck and start walking backwards and forwards, zigzagging your way down the ship, avoiding, and you'll have your map of the ship with you. So avoiding any decks that have cabins only. Avoid those decks. Just do the public decks and just go backwards and forwards through those public areas so you know where everything is. You get familiar. I said, my very first cruise, nobody gave me that information on my very first cruise. And we got on the cruise ship, and it was like the day before we got back into port, I found my ideal reading place. That, a great place to go and sit and just a little spot that you could go and sit and curl up with my Kindle and read a book. And I said, I found that on the last day of the cruise. I said, so then I thought, well, the next time we go on a cruise, we're going to explore. And we kind of did explore the ship, but we didn't explore it extensively. We had a little map. We figured we'll be fine. But then also, too, when you're doing the zigzagging down and checking out public areas, go to the spa. I said, when you get to the spa, go inside, book yourself, and ask what their embarkation day specials are, because a lot of cruise lines will do embarkation day specials in the spa because they don't get a lot of people coming in on the first day, except for to do tours and maybe book stuff throughout the cruise, especially at sea days. They'll go in and they'll book their at sea days. I said, so go and ask what, and ships will have embarkation day specials, and they'll also have port day specials. For those that don't want to go into port and decide to stay on the ship, they'll have specials for those days too. I said, I did this, and I said, and this will set you up for the cruise. Because normally when you go on vacation, if you're doing like a 7-day vacation, like a 7-day cruise, it takes you a couple of days to unwind and get into vacation mode. And you just got into vacation mode, and now you got to prepare to leave the ship. So you don't get a lot of time of actual downtime. But if you go to the spa and you do embarkation day specials, now I got a great one time. It was full body massage with a cranial massage, and what else did they do? Facial. I got those 3 things for like $120. And those that go to the spa often know that you don't typically get those 3 things together for $120. And so I booked it in for embarkation day, and after the safety drill was over, my next stop was the spa. I was straight to the spa. And I will tell you this, getting a massage on your first day on board the ship, you are straight into that vacation mode. So now I got to enjoy my entire cruise in vacation mode. The stress and the worry was gone. They massage it out of your muscles. You feel so relaxed and so good, and you are in vacation mode. And you actually get to enjoy your vacation a lot more than somebody who doesn't do like a massage or some way of relaxing on that first day that you're on board ship. Now, some people go and lay out by the pool. Yeah, that's fine, but sometimes the muscles need just a little work to help release that tension, to release that extra tension that you're holding in your body, and you don't realize that you're holding it. But you come out and then you're kind of like, oh, this feels so good. And you're straight into vacation mode. And so that was my advice for people when they first got on a cruise ship. Go get lunch straight away, then go and start exploring the ship. When you get to the spa, book in for an embarkation day special, especially a massage, and then go explore the rest of the ship. By the time you have done that, by the time you have had lunch and you've explored all the public areas on the ship and you've booked in for your embarkation day special, the cabins are now open. So now you can go and take your gear to your cabins, you can drop it off, and then you can go and explore even more if you wanted to, because you've already found those little hiding places. You can go get your massage done. And always take note of what time the safety drill is and make sure you're there beforehand. I would always... we would find out where because on safety drill days, they actually shut down the elevators, and you actually have to use it. So once they make the announcement of the safety drill that you need to start making your way towards where the safety drill is, some ships will shut down their elevators. So now you have to go the stairs. So Brad and I would always turn up about 30 minutes before safety drill. In fact, we were on one. We had decided it was our very first Carnival cruise, and so it was our very first experience with Carnival. And we were doing a three night cruise, just out on Friday, back on Monday, down to Ensenada and back, and Ensenada, and we'd heard about Party Ship, about how it's also known as, that particular cruise, also known as the Booze Cruise. And we thought this will be interesting, and we found out why people labeled it that way. We got down to the lounge where we were going to be doing the muster drill. We were down there 20 minutes before it started, and we're sitting there waiting. Nobody showed up. They told us what time it was going to be. Nobody showed up. And we're like, what the heck is going on? And they had all the speakers were working and everything else because all their announcements were coming over, da-da-da-da. And we had been told that the safety drill would start at 4:30. So we're down there at 10 past 4, and we're waiting and just sitting back there relaxing. And there was doors there that go out to the adult only area where they have hot tubs and some lounging chairs. And these 2 guys come in, and they're wearing robes, and one of them and he stops near us because we're sitting in one of those little booth things. He stops near us, and he takes his feet out of his flip-flops, and he wipes his feet on the carpet, puts his feet back in the flip-flops, and walks off. And the tie of his robe drops to the floor. And then there's this little Asian staff member who's running along behind him going, sir, sir, sir. And she had to stop, pick up. And he's like dropping things. And she's busy picking up behind him, trying to catch up to him, to tell him whatever she had to tell him or do whatever she had to do. And they were not walking straight. And this is at 4:10. This is about 4:15 by now. And somewhere there, and then nobody's coming. They had changed the safety drill. When we boarded, they told us the safety drill was at 4:30. When everybody else was boarding, they told them it was at 5:30. They didn't tell us that. They didn't make any announcements to say that the times had changed. So whoever checked us in and were checking in people around the time that we got on board the ship was telling them 4:30 when the drill was actually at 5:30. And no, 5 o'clock. So it was at 5 o'clock. So it was shifted 30 minutes. And so we sat there for almost an hour before people started showing up. And at 5 o'clock, when the safety drill was supposed to start, people are just like, oh, here we are. And they just like wander in and sit down. And it was like 5 o'clock was when you were supposed to start. They were treating it like 5 o'clock is when you're supposed to start showing up for safety drill. So we had people walking and we had to sit there for like 20 minutes and wait to make sure everybody was there. And then they proceeded with it, and it was like 5:20 before they finally started the safety drill. And we got all that stuff done, and everybody was free to go. So we moseyed on back to our cabin, which was 2 decks below where we had to go for our safety drill. So we just walked down the stairs. You don't touch elevators after a safety drill. You're going to be standing for ages. If you're only within 2 to 3 decks, just take the stairs if you are able to. I understand if you're not able to do that, that's fine. But if you are, take the stairs. And so then we decided, let's go. Actually, I think we did have a fixed dining time. We had a 6 p.m. dining time. And so we caught the elevator up to where we had to go back to the cabin for some reason. And so then we got there and we took the elevator up to where the restaurant was at 6 p.m. And we step out, and there's our elevator, the one next to us, and 2 across from us. And then there's a wall across here, and then the opening to the restaurant's over here. And on the floor at the bottom of this wall, there was a guy passed out drunk. And Brad looks at me and he goes, now I know why they call it the booze crew. Because people were already drunk when they showed up for the safety drill. And I'm like, we haven't even left port. And at 6 o'clock was when we felt the motion of the ship just starting to leave port. And I'm like, people are already passed out drunk at 6 o'clock in the evening, and we haven't even left, and we're just leaving port. And I'm like, this is going to be an interesting cruise. We had a blast on that cruise. So we did have a blast, and we're not party people, but we did have a good time on that cruise. So especially their lava cakes for dessert, the chocolate lava cake thing for dessert, those were really, really good. And I had mine gluten-free, and I did have a taste of Brad's, which was one with the gluten in it. Mine was much better. I'm just saying. And he tasted mine and he agreed it was much better. And when we were talking to the business development manager for Carnival that we were working with at the time, she turns around and says, they don't put flour in that thing. And we said, actually they do, because I got the gluten-free version and Brad didn't. She's like, they never used to put it in there. And then we somehow found the recipe online or whatever, and sure enough, there was flour in there. She's like, they never used to do that, because we always used to boast that it was a gluten-free dessert. I said, well, they don't do that anymore. But we did have a lot of fun on that cruise. We did. And we had fun on many other cruises. And there's just something about being out on the water on a cruise ship that just really resets the body clock. And you get off that cruise, and you just feel more alive. And yeah, I always get creative when I'm on a cruise ship. There's just something about being on a cruise ship. And we were in after Brad passed, my very first cruise was to Alaska, and it was May, and he had passed the previous September, and about 8 months after he passed. And I had my biggest awakening on that cruise was that this was my life now, that I'm by myself. I'll be traveling by myself, and not standing around with a significant other like I was seeing all around me during the safety drill. But also, too, that cruise unlocked a huge bunch of creativity. I hadn't been that creative in I don't know how long. And I was trying to figure out, when was the last time I was this creative? But our first stop was Ketchikan. And the reason I did the Alaska cruise was because it was familiar to me, and it was our very first cruise that Brad and I did, was the Inside Passage in Alaska. We went in and out of Seattle. This one went out of Vancouver and into Seattle. And so it was very, it was good because I got to see things that we didn't get to see the previous time because we did other things there. So we didn't get to explore Juneau or Ketchikan because we had tours organized. Skagway, we didn't have anything organized, and we had a phenomenal time in Skagway. And so this time I did a lot of walking on that one. So the only thing I booked for the shore excursions was going to the lumberjack show, and I didn't do it as part of the cruise line. I did it as myself, booked with them, and went in. And I've always we had what was called the AMP shows, agriculture and produce shows in New Zealand. You guys, AMP, what was the M for? Can't remember what the M was for. But it was to do with the agriculture, horticulture, all that sort of stuff. You guys have like your state fairs and stuff where you have the competition with the animals, who's got the best, the best pigs, the best cows, the best whatevers, who made the best jam, the cakes, all of that sort of thing is what our AMP is the equivalent of our AMP shows that we have in different regions. And they always had the lumberjacks, and they just for some reason they just fascinated me. With how quickly they could chop wood with an axe, how close to their own body they got those axe blades, what they could do with the double-handed saws where they're going backwards and forwards as a team and their coordination and everything else. Then scaling up those poles, where they had to, on some of the poles they had to put like their footholds in and then stick a plank of wood in there, then stand on that and then put their next step into there and then go up to the next one. And they've got no safety harness or anything. Mind you, I was just a kid at the time, so this is in the 70s and the 80s. And they just always fascinated me about what they could do with an axe and saws. And so I hadn't seen lumberjacks in years. So I went along the lumberjack show, and knowing it was all for entertainment, looking beyond that, you could see the skill that these guys had. Some of these guys were all-round world champions that were part of the show. Some of them were champions in the different disciplines that they have. But these guys that were the cast of the show were all champions in what it was that they did. So these were world-class athletes as far as I was concerned. Many awards between all of them and everything else. And they were skilled enough that they were able to know how to throw a competition without looking like they were doing it. So they had already decided. I found out because afterwards I went and learned how to throw an axe with one of the lumberjacks, and so we found out that what they do before the show is they're all out the back there and just chumming around all that, and they actually have a toss of a coin to see which camp is going to win that day. So they've already predetermined who's going to win, and then they have to decide who's going to win which events and everything else. And so then they still have to look like they are competing, while at the same time they're throwing it. They're throwing the event so the other person wins if it's their turn to win that event. It was very interesting to watch that, to see how it all came about and everything else. Then after that, I went for a wander around Ketchikan, and I'd always heard about Creek Street, but the first time we've been there, we never got to Creek Street. And so I went and explored Creek Street, and oh my gosh, all of a sudden my brain was just like, just reading. They had these big boards at the end of Creek Street that had like all these different articles and things on, giving the history of Creek Street, some of the stories about it. Like it used to cost you 50 cents for a nip, and a nip of alcohol, which was illegal at the time because they were in prohibition at the time. And this was back before the 48 states went into prohibition. And now it was 50 cents for a nip, and a nip was half a teaspoon. And I remember telling Joshua, my youngest, at that time about this, and he's sort of like, 50 cents for a nip, and it's half a teaspoon? He says, yeah. He says, that wouldn't taste much. I said, yeah, I know. And he goes, well, what would 50 cents be worth today? So we went on and found some calculator that takes in inflation and all of that sort of things, and it was $10.52 for half a teaspoon of liquor is what it would be equivalent to today. So there was all these stories on this thing, and I took lots of photographs of these boards so I could go back and read them again later on. And I learned a lot about Creek Street that day, and my imagination, my creativity was like overflowing. I got back to the ship, and I sat and I went up into the cafe area and got my, did I get hot chocolate that day or tea? I can't remember if I got hot chocolate or tea that day. I got one of them with a couple of little sweet things. And I just sat there and wrote. and wrote and wrote and wrote. I sat there for ages just writing down these ideas and they were going faster than I could catch them with a pen and paper. And it was just, and I came back with a notebook stuffed full of ideas just from going to Creek Street. And that was sort of like the floodgates opening up. And it astounded me because I couldn't remember the last time I'd been that creative. And I've got several different I've got like the same characters, but I've got several different plots on their lives in Ketchikan at the time, and how they end up leaving Ketchikan and what happens after they leave Ketchikan. So I've got several different ideas written out. I've got several scenes written out. I've got several chapters written out, but they're all on the same. It's all at the beginning of this thing, because the idea with this book is to have a chapter in history and a chapter in present day. And in present day, the great granddaughter, who is a genealogist and helps out at her brother's investigation services, is researching the family and can only get back so far. And then there comes a wall block, like these people are never mentioned beyond a certain date. And she's trying to find out why. So you've got one chapter on this is how it all began, and then you've got her doing the research, and it's chapter for chapter in the past and current thing. So it's taking shape, and every now and again I go and delve in it. But I've got so many different versions of how they did present day, how they discover the link between the chapters that you're reading from the past and the chapters in the present, how they discover that link, and then I've got several ways on how the story goes that leads her up to that brick wall. So you got the brick wall, and you got the story that goes up to the brick wall, and then you got from the brick wall onwards. So how she comes back and finds the brick wall and gets through it, and then the other one is the story that leads up to the brick wall and why the brick wall is there. And so it's the storyline that gets up to the brick wall that's got several different versions, and then there's how she discovers that brick wall and tumbles it. There's several different versions. So I got to figure out which one to do. So it's it's going to take a while. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. I'm out of here. I'm off to having a fabulous evening. What am I doing? What are we doing tonight, Zephy, for our... Oh, no, hang on. We haven't finished our to-do list. We're going to go finish our to-do list. Then we're going to finish our book for tomorrow. And then, I don't know. I'll go have dinner. Dinner would be a good idea. Dinner's next on the agenda. So go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we will catch you guys tomorrow for Shake It Up Saturday. Hei konera.